but on the open road, it's a deadly game. We focus on the dangers of speed on our roads in tonight's Police Camera Action.
The wrecked cars in this pound have all been crashed deliberately. It's part of a European research project to find out which models give the best protection both to the occupants of the vehicle and to pedestrians in the event of a car crash.
And despite the frightening extent of this damage, the cars are travelling at just 30 miles an hour during the side impact tests and only 40 in the frontal crashes.
This car pound really is a pretty sobering sight, and a stark reminder as to why we just shouldn't drive like this.
Nor like this. Despite tailgating being one of the most dangerous manoeuvres on the motorway, it is a common tactic among inconsiderate and intimidating drivers.
We're closing again. You want to talk to the heavy driver?
Yes, I think we will talk to the heavy driver.
And you should always look both ways at a junction. Impatient, reckless challenges like this put the lives of innocent drivers at risk for the sake of arriving just a few seconds sooner. And although this driver is on the left of the road, he's in Denmark and should be on the right. While this German driver's dangerous behaviour brings him close to disaster as he swerves in front of the queue of cars blocking his path back to the outside lane. Not content with this manoeuvre, he refuses to stop for the pursuing police. He dives across onto the hard shoulder, taking off at over 100 kilometres an hour. His dangerous progress continues as he weaves through the traffic with little thought or care for those around him. The inevitable crash is not long in coming. But even this is no deterrent for an obstinate and dangerous driver whose contempt for all other road users seems to have no limit. Only the skill of the pursuing officers avoids another collision, while the suspect races through a red light. He is eventually arrested. Speeding through Los Angeles, a wanted criminal is being pursued by the California Highway Patrol. He already thinks he's above the law, but like many criminals who think they're immune to danger, this suspect is wrong. This kind of driving makes a crash a certainty.
Did you get it? He's stopped. What can you tell him? He's getting out of the car, it appears.
He's captured and jailed for his crimes. Sometimes a police pursuit can turn from a relatively routine assignment into a dangerous battle of wits. Police in North Yorkshire are following a stolen metro through residential streets when the teenage criminals on board decide to try and disable their pursuer. With little regard for anyone's safety, they throw the stolen car into reverse with deadly intent. This aggressive action was futile, and the criminals were all arrested. They were later given community service orders.
I'm travelling in a McLaren F1, the world's fastest production car. It's already won Le Mans with a top speed of 240 miles an hour. that real discomfort, I feel totally safe because I'm in the hands of experts. Not only are we driving on the strictly regulated Silverstone racetrack, but my driver Darren is a professional. He's used to driving this car at top speed in any conditions. For Darren and McLaren, racing is a serious business. But for far too many people out on the ordinary roads, it's a deadly game.
Scottish police have set up a speed check near a Highland primary school. They're stunned when passed by a speeding Vauxhall Vectra, whose driver, despite the proximity of the school and having 2 children in the car himself, is seeing just how fast his saloon will go. Officers register a speed of 139.3 miles an hour, which is recorded in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. The speeder is pulled over and later fined £500, banned for a year, and made to resit his driving test. In Germany, this driver is also ignoring the speed limit. Despite the warning signs of a motorway contraflow, he's travelling at 205 kilometres per hour. That's 128 miles an hour. Like many speeders, he thinks he owns the road and forces other more law-abiding motorists out of the way. But driving at 3 times the speed limit guarantees arrest and conviction. This suspect in Georgia, in the USA, will pay a different sort of price for his actions. He has stopped for the police, but decides this was a bad idea and races off. The police pursue him, but his lack of control at high speeds is his undoing. He can be seen running from the wreck, but is quickly captured. A lack of control at high speed is also very evident during this pursuit of a house burglar in the Thames Valley. The XR2 has been stolen. The telltale sign is the windscreen wipers going. Hot wiring has damaged the car's electrics, and the thief can't switch them off. He continues to put many lives at risk by driving as though his skills know no bounds. Tracked by the air support unit, the burglar's crazy progress is checked by slow-moving traffic, allowing a police pursuit vehicle to catch up. The burglar, also a disqualified driver, makes one last effort to throw off his pursuers, careers onto the grass, comes to a halt, and decides to give himself up to the police on the ground. He's still wearing white socks over his hands to disguise his fingerprints. Policing modern roads has led to patrol vehicles being packed with an ever-increasing amount of vital equipment. Crammed into Northern Constabulary's 4x4 are 64 different items, all with their own special functions, including spades for clearing up at accidents, an axe, tape measure, extension lead and torch. Road signs, first aid kit, ropes and a foot pump to help the public. And blankets, hot drinks, sleeping bags and survival clothing for winter rescues.
And finally, the stinger. A bed of nails designed to slowly puncture the tyres of a stolen car when thrown in its path. It'll bring any pursuit to a safe and satisfactory conclusion. Since its introduction in 1995 in the UK, it's been widely used right across the country.
As in this case, in Glasgow, where 2 officers are lying in wait for an oncoming pursuit.
Tango Mike 6, we're going to deploy Stinger, Eastern London Road, door.
Not just for the Stinger if suitable.
Where the patrol cars though?
Yeah, Stinger been implemented on the road in McDuffie.
A Stinger unit has also been called in to halt a pursuit through another part of Glasgow. On board the stolen car are 3 thieves who've been endangering the lives of other drivers. They need to be stopped. The police are waiting behind the parked car, up ahead, on the left. Success. The Rover GTI is stopped and the thieves are arrested.
The vehicle has stopped the Stinger and still continues on Wakefield Road.
Lancashire police also need Stinger as they pursue a stolen Jaguar down the M6. Tracking the vehicle is the air support unit using its thermal image camera. Waiting at all the exits are police with Stinger units.
BD Oscar November 2 on, can we just confirm Preston are covering the exits with Stinger? Boston.
Oscar November 2 on standby, Mike Delta 70, passing the works units lane 3, roger. Can confirm there are patrols with Stinger both on the slip road and on the 2-lane section at Broughton. Rather the patrols...
As well as covering the exits, police have laid a trap with 2 more Stingers from both sides of the carriageway near Broughton.
We will be deploying 2 Stingers, one from the central reservation and one from the high shoulder of it.
X-ray 92 confirming at the 2-lane section at Broughton. 1 Stinger will be deployed from the central reservation, the other one covering lane 1. Mike Delta 70, the vehicle lane 2, 130 miles per hour.
The Jag is now reaching speeds of 130 miles an hour and is almost outrunning the helicopter. As the Jaguar speeds towards the waiting police in the top left-hand corner of the screen, the thief has no idea that his flight is about to be ended.
X-ray 92 reporting Stinger deployed.
BD Oscar November 2 on, the vehicle has made contact with Stinger just passing the gantry.
The device has an immediate effect as the Jaguar slows, its tyres punctured, and moves on to the hard shoulder. It's overhauled by the pursuing vehicles.
Roger, a number of patrols calling, if you can stand by.
BD Oscar November 2 on, the vehicle is stopping, remind patrols channel 88 PR if it's abandoned.
Oscar November 2 on, reporting the vehicle now stopping, a reminder to patrols to go on to channel 89 if any make off.
88, no movement from the vehicle as yet. Patrol
A successful prosecution follows the driver's arrest, and he was later sentenced to 7 years in jail. Coming up in part 2, criminals take to the hills in an attempt to beat the law. An officer in Nebraska is about to have a miraculous escape from death, and the dangers of speeding in fog, as shown by a state-of-the-art simulator.
I'm sitting behind the wheel of a £750,000 simulator to find out what happens when I go through thick fog on the M3 motorway. Now, at the moment, the conditions are pretty good. There's a little suggestion of mist about, but nothing too bad. So I'm happy to be sitting here in the centre lane doing around about 60, 65 miles an hour. I can see quite clearly ahead of me, but now the fog is beginning to come in quite fast and quite thick. It's now very, very thick indeed, and it's difficult to see the lane markings, let alone the rest of the traffic. But let's assume that I'm in a great hurry. I've got a meeting that I've just got to get to. So instead of doing the sensible thing of slowing down and taking into account these dreadful conditions, I'm going to keep my foot on the accelerator and maintain my speed at about 60, 65 miles an hour. I've just got to get to this meeting. Now, there's traffic on the inside lane there. I saw that okay, so thus far I'm all right. I lost it there completely. And that, I guess, was inevitable. I was going far too fast for the conditions. I couldn't see ahead, and I certainly didn't leave myself the right sort of braking distance. But, you know, the extraordinary thing is that there are far too many drivers who behave exactly like that. out on the real roads.
Like this driver, travelling at 60 in thick fog. His mother-in-law and wife are arguing over the route. Change their minds and he's forced to lurch dangerously back across the chevrons. It's a move which could bring you 3 points on your licence. And this driver in Denmark is paying no attention to the conditions as he recklessly overtakes. If any of these drivers on the M25 were forced to stop suddenly, there's no doubt they'd cause a multiple pile-up, as braking distances are doubled in the wet. Despite the danger, they hurtle through the water at reckless speeds. But the rain is no excuse to hog the outside lane. And flashing your hazard lights at a police car trying to get past doesn't make this selfish act any better. The lane hog is lucky to get off with a stern warning. A snowstorm in Scotland has reduced visibility on the A9 to a few hundred yards. Yet this driver amazingly refuses to slow down and doesn't even spot the police car behind. He's speed checked at more than 90 miles an hour, as shown in the bottom left-hand corner. He's stopped and given a fixed penalty notice and 3 points on his licence. And when the snow has turned to ice, overtaking at 55 kilometres an hour is a foolhardy venture. Police in Nebraska thought that despite the extreme weather conditions, the danger was past, as they dealt with the aftermath of a multiple collision on the freeway. Among the wreckage of the pile-up, they'd taken every precaution for their own safety and positioned their patrol cars to slow down passing motorists. But for one officer, taking down routine details, the danger was far from over. Amazingly, Officer Gary Powell cheated death and suffered only shoulder injuries. He was back on police duties within a few months. The slow motion shows how, despite the lack of warning, the officer is lifted onto the bonnet of the speeding car and narrowly avoids getting his legs trapped.
This car park is no ordinary pay and display. Stored at this secret North London location are £6 million worth of cars, all recovered by Scotland Yard's Stolen Vehicle Unit. And each of those cars represents a success story in the police campaign against car crime. Now, these two Volvos were given the same identity, the same number plates by the criminals who stole them. But 4 weeks after this second Volvo was caught for speeding on the M25, a third identical Volvo was caught on camera in a speed trap. One of the criminals involved in this car cloning caper is currently serving 4.5 years for the theft of 7 Volvos. Now, this next criminal got rather more than he'd bargained for when he decided to make off with somebody else's car.
Not only has he made off with someone else's car, but he's also gone off-road in a desperate attempt to throw off his pursuers. Watching from above is the Chiltern Air Support Unit. They've been called in to back up their colleagues on the ground who've been pursuing the stolen Calibra for 20 minutes in their red police pursuit car. Back on the road, the thief gathers pace, terrorising other road users. He's stolen the vehicle from Warwickshire. Despite the glamour of high-performance vehicles, smaller family cars are far more likely to be on the average car thief's shopping list. It can take as little as 5 seconds to break into a locked vehicle, and police advise car owners to install supplementary immobilizers and security devices to deter all but the most hardened thieves. Despite the extensive damage to the car, the young thief and his 2 passengers insist on driving at deadly speeds on the wrong side of the road. It's very unlikely that you'll find yourself caught up in a police pursuit, but if you are unlucky enough to be, the police advise that you should pull over as soon as is safe for you to do so and let the experts deal with the situation. And always remember, don't panic. Close cooperation on the radio has led to a Stinger unit being deployed up ahead, and the thief is driving straight towards it. Police cars surround the stricken Calibra to stop the thief and his two accomplices from escaping. All three were arrested. The driver was sentenced to 60 days youth custody, and one passenger received a supervision order.
Right, let's make sure we got clear. 100 miles an hour, please. Defenders lights on back on again.
On the M4 in London, a police video car has been called in to record the pursuit of a stolen BMW that's already been underway for some time.
Oscar 618, can you make way for Oscar 69 to video, if you ever? Yes, so past us now, please. Yes, you see Oscar 69 the 60 behind XA3, if you ever? Yes. We will stay behind. XA3, keep the country going. You've got Oscar 629 behind you, the video camera.
The thief speeds through roadworks at breakneck speed.
We're now coming off.
It's now half an hour later, and the pursuit is still going.
Down through the red lights.
Through the red lights, joining the A4 eastbound back into town.
I know.
He's accelerating the way up now. He's not up to 70 miles an hour.
Despite being in a residential area, the thief still drives with callous disregard for life and limb.
Through the red light.
30 mile an hour speed limit. Just watch the video.
After more than 60 miles, the thief finally reaches Southall.
Towards the Uxbridge Road. His pace is quickening up a bit, MT.
All units approach this vehicle with caution. He's not going to stop for you.
But the driver is anything but cautious, and his mad marathon is about to come to an abrupt end.
He stopped it, Park Road, he's at a lamppost. We're bailing out. Hey, what? Go!
Police caught the driver, who crashed in a foolhardy attempt to flee on foot. He took the car keys out whilst the vehicle was still moving, and the steering lock cut in, forcing the car straight into a row of parked vehicles. Finally, the Met Police have spotted an unusual speeder exiting from the lay-by onto the road ahead. They doggedly pursue their quarry and speed-check the offender, an escaped greyhound making a dash for freedom.
Keep on running, keep on hiding. One fine day I'm gonna be the one who's gonna be your man.
Powerful back legs there, aren't it?
Keep on running, running from my arms. One fine day
Tell you what, that is one hell of a mutt, isn't it? 18 miles an hour.
18.3. Go on, my son. Go on, my son.